Okay, so let's start from the top and actually talk about what's going on here. So the minimum surface rate we've got is 1.5%. You will find that with DeFi, the surface rates can be wild. Some of them can be huge. They can even be in the thousands of percents. So I just want to make sure that I have a minimum of 1.5%. You might actually want something like 0.5, and you want to go for highly liquid coins that you can swap at and just do high liquidity, high value at a small percentage. Whatever your strategy is, it's absolutely fine. You can set that up here. And then we've got, the contracts. So contract 2, contract 3, this is related to the pool. And then also the direction of the trade. Is it base to quote or quote to base? Exactly what we had, before when we were going through the centralized approach. And we need to do this for forward and reverse. So we're looping through, each forward and reverse, and we're doing, the same calculations essentially with that. We're getting the pair information from the surface rates that we extracted earlier or calculated earlier. And we're getting the price information as well. So here we're not pulling the price straight from the blockchain because it's not really necessary. It only took seconds for GraphQL to pull that information back for us. And so to me, it doesn't make sense to go and query the blockchain, hundreds of times just to get the latest mid prices. Here, what we're going to do is just use that other query we've got. The other thing I want to mention here is that with DeFi, what I find is that the prices last a lot longer. When I was building the Crypto Wizards tool, the application, so actually let's go over there now. So in terms of Crypto Wizards, for the arbitragem tool over here, so if you're on the platform, and it doesn't matter if you're not with Crypto Wizards, by the way, you don't need this. You're actually learning to do this without Crypto Wizards. But if we go here to the arbitragem tool and Uniswap v3, then, essentially when I was developing this, I had seen opportunities that lasted for more than a day. And so what that tells me is there's a lot more opportunity in DeFi than there is in CeFi for triangular arbitrage. And that's what I believe actually makes this course so valuable, right? There's a high barrier to entry here with triangular arbitrage. Doing what we've got here is really difficult, right? Most people cannot do it because they don't know how. They've not been shown. And so here we're actually showing you how to do that. That's what, the purpose of this course is to give you the freedom to be able to go into any exchange and try to figure out some kind of arbitrage that works for you, just for your own enjoyment. And that's essentially what it's been for me. It's just been such an enjoyable experience. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back over to this here. That's how we're pulling the price information. The contract information is just, the contract address for that pair, for that pool. And we're going to need that when it comes to actually checking the depth when we start using JavaScript. So that's going to be fun. And then here we're setting some more variables, just as we did, pretty much the same as what we did with Poloniex. And now this is where it gets interesting, right? So this is where we are starting with a base, or starting with, I should actually correct some of the comments here. This was a quote. And deciding whether we're trading forward or reverse. And so here we're going to look at the forward examples, and then the reverse is just the opposite way around. So for the forward examples, the swap 1 is going to be a base. And what this means is we're saying that we're starting with a base. So let me actually go here to Excalidraw. And let's bring up a coin, right? So let's bring up, for example, WETH2, and we'll call this, we'll put something like, I don't know, link. And we're going to do another pair as well, which is going to be something like BTC to link. And then we're going to do something, for example, like BTC to WETH. So here we've got 2 of each coin. So let's do our checks here for this example. We've got 2 of each coin. I've got, WETH there, WETH here. So I'll put that one in red. Link, I've got 2 of here. So, I've got 2 link here. And then, for example, here I've got BTC. I've got 2 BTC, which I'll put in green, and BTC in green over here. So this is what we would class as a triangular arbitrage trading pair or trading group. And this is where all the information is. So what's important, going back to our code over here, is that if we're going to trade forward, what that means is we're essentially saying we're starting with pair A on the base. And if we're saying we're going to trade reverse, we're saying we're going to start assuming we're holding the quote coin over here, which is link. So when we're trading forward, we're saying we're assuming that we're going to be starting over here. Now, if we go back to an example of the code over here, then before, what we had with Poloniex is we had something like, we would say, and I'm just going to put a comment in here, we would say take, 1 divided by, the A ask price if it was going forward, if it was going from the base to the quote. And here, what we're doing is we're actually just taking the token 1 price. And this is to do with the way the prices are actually structured from Uniswap v3. And like we said in the in the previous course, you need to look at the way that the prices are actually structured. So let's go back over here. Let's go to the subgraph and actually look at these prices, right? So token price, so for token 0, it's giving me the price in the format that I need it at already. So it's already doing that for me, and it's giving me the token 1 price at the exchange. You can see it's doing it in the format I need. It's almost like it's already inverted it for me. So I actually don't need, when I'm looking at the rate here, at the price, I don't actually need to invert it because it's already done it for me. If I look at the difference between token 0, here is 4,000 and here is 0.0002 for this WETH over here. So the USDC is giving me it in USDC. The WETH is giving it to me in WETH. And so this is actually really, really handy. So that means I don't have to go inverting any prices or working with bid and ask. And the reason why we don't need to work with bid and ask is because we're dealing with an AMM, right? This is an automated market maker algorithm. And so it's just not necessary. Okay, so that is how we're going to get, the price. So that's going to be our swap 1 rate. I'm going to ignore reverse items for now because they're just the opposite. So now let's look at this, right? If the A quote is equal to the B quote, so let's go back here. What is that saying? That's saying that if the A quote, because I'm starting with the base, which means because I've started with the base, I've automatically gone and traded and got myself, link over here. Right, so if I've started with the base, then what I'm inferring is that I've now received link, right? So A quote is what I'm holding right now. And here we're saying, what if A quote is equal to B quote? So here it actually is. In this example, it is equal to B quote. So if A quote is equal to B quote, then what that theoretically means, and I'm just going to keep adding boxes here, what that infers is that, on the second trade, we've got B base. So what do I mean by that, right? So this is A, and let's just put this, let's put this as a dark color because it's not really relevant here. So A, and here I'm going to say, this is B, and here this is C. So this will be C over here. So what I'm saying is, if I'm starting with WETH, then it's inferred that when I exchange that, I'm getting link. If link is on the quote side of pair B, then I'm inferred to be getting Bitcoin. So that's what's happening over here. So you can see now it's taking the token 0 price. So if we're dealing with a quote, we're taking the 0 price. If we're dealing with a base, we're taking the token 1 price. And those prices, as we've just discussed, are already inverted, which is really, really helpful. And the pull direction is going to be quote to base, right? So we're going from the quote to the base side. So let's scroll down now a bit more and say, okay, well, let's assume now we've got B base because that's inferred. Well, what if B base is equal to C base? Well, if we go over here, we see that actually B base is equal to C base. So it actually, this time it matches in the example. When we were doing this with Poloniex, you'd note that, I actually had a different example to what the code was showing. And that made it a lot more challenging for you. But I think at the same time, it actually helped to force to understand what was going on from a different angle. So here, I've got this BTC over here, which is inferred. So that then infers that when I trade the WBTC, that I'll be getting WETH on the last leg of the trade here. So here I'm going to make this, back to green again. So I've started here and I've ended here, and I went through this route. And so, if B base is C base, then, I'm taking the 1 price, because remember, when we're dealing with a quote, we're dealing with a 0 price. When we're dealing with a base, we're dealing with the 1 price. And also the pool contract is going to be contract C. Now, if I scroll down a bit, just to look at an example where if A quote is equal to C quote, well then, contract 2 is equal to the C contract, right? It's not, pull contract 2 is not going to be equal to B anymore. It's equal to C. And then B would be the last leg of the trade. So how would that look here? That would look as follows, right? So that would look as, if I just create a copy of this, and let's actually make this, let's remove some of these boxes here. Let's say we're starting with this, but actually this is going to be, something like link to, I don't know, this could be something like, could be anything. Let's just put Zcash. And then here we're going to get Zcash, right? So ZEC, and we're going to put that back to WETH. So this could be an example of another trade. So this time, actually what's going on, and in fact this is a bad example because what I should do is move WETH here. What's happening this time is link is actually now here in pair C, right? So we're saying, what if here it's equal to C quote? Well, actually in this example it's equal to C base. So let's scroll down a bit more. Here we go. If A quote is equal to C base, right? So if A quote is equal to C base, which it is here. So here's the quote, sorry, link, and it's equal to link here, and we can get rid of these dots because they're no longer correct either. So we can remove those. Here I just need to alter that slightly and move this here. Let's get rid of that. So link here is equal to the C base. Then what's inferred is that I'm getting ZEC, right? So what's inferred is that now, I'm basically, the C contract number 1 is, what is our contract 2. So contract C is now contract 2. It's the second leg. We're starting here, number 1, that's trade 1. Here's trade 2. It's on C. But now what's inferred is I have this ZEC. And here, if I have ZEC, i.e., now I've acquired the C quote, that's what's being inferred. I've acquired this. Well, does the C quote match the B base? And here it doesn't. Does the C quote match the B quote? Yes, it does. So here we're going there. And then what's inferred is I'm ending up with WETH over here. So this is a really, really great way to actually visualize how this logic is working, right? So this is very, very helpful. So we're starting here. We're going here. Then we're going from here all the way over to here. Then we're going from here to here and ending back up with WETH. And that's how this pair example would work. So what this code logic is doing is it's just looking through all the potential, where could the coins be? What side of the pair are they? Are they in the base? Are they quote? Can we trade them left and right? And then the reverse is just assuming, it's just assuming that we're starting with the quote, not the base. And so that's what it's doing there. It's doing all the same calculations again. So everything is the same, but just in reverse. And then once we get to the end of that, we have the arbitrage calculation, right? So are we in profit or loss? And same thing as before, the percentage, we only calculate the percentage if the profit and loss is not 0, because we can't divide it by a 0. Otherwise, we put 0. And here's the same format description we had before. So this is so we have a description of what's going on that explains to us, in plain English, what's actually happening. And this is exactly as we did it before, pretty much, right? So this won't be new to you. And then down here, if we're in profit, in other words, if we're in more profit than the minimum surface rate, then return, this information. Return the surface dictionary, and then return the dictionary no matter what at the end anyway. So let's actually go back over here now to main and let's run this. So I'm going to go to the very top. I'm going to collapse the structure trading pairs because we've dealt with that. And here we're going to go and run this. But first I want to see what's going on. So I'm saying for, T pair in structured pair, here's calculate the surface rate. And then here I'm actually going to print the surface rate over here. So let's actually go and run and hopefully that executes. And it did execute, but it didn't find any arbitrage opportunities. Now that's very interesting in itself, and that's probably because, number one, we didn't give it many to work with. There were only 26 pairs to work with. So let's actually do something here as well. Let's add an item in here and call it the minimum rate. And that we're going to make it equal to 0 for now. So the minimum rate, I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to add this minimum rate here as a parameter. And then here I'm going to put in minimum rate, right? So this is just going to transfer the minimum rate directly into here. Let's go back and let's run that again. And now, because we put the minimum rate as 0, we've got a whole bunch of information that's coming across here. And if I scroll all the way to the right of each one of these, you know, here we've got this profit and loss in percent. So this is 0.07%, 0.02%, etc. And this is very promising. There's actually a lot of arbitrage opportunities coming up here, which is, you know, extremely exciting. Now, sadly, and also fortunately, what we're going to do in the next session is we're actually going to now go and save these opportunities to a JSON file. And the reason for that is very, very simple. It's because we're going to be working with the Uniswap SDK. And what's very important here is that we actually use JavaScript because this is recommended. And it's also what the SDK is built in. So we're going to start working with JavaScript. Now, if you haven't gone through the comparison between Python and JavaScript videos, definitely go back and watch that because that's going to be, you know, very important. But all we can do now with Python is we can take this as far as saving the opportunities. So we're going to do that in the very next session.